when you see us, huh?
Okay,
Got a note that we've gone live.
Hey, 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 ladies. We are live here with you tonight, and I am really excited to share in this room on Women Wanting More. Not only ladies who are in our group, but they are some of my very best friends. And I feel honored that they're joining me on the topic of self-love because I am so passionate about it, as some of you may or may not know. So my name is Shelley Marinko, for those of you who haven't met me and that I haven't met yet. From wherever you're viewing, I'd love it if you just drop in the comments below where you're tuning in from, and if this is your first time joining in for a Wednesday Night Live. I'm also the owner of Inspired Living, and so I just want to welcome you here. And this is Sonia that's here with us tonight, and Tiffany and Robin. And at the end, we'll share how you can reach out to them if you'd like to following our conversation. But tonight, what we're going to do is talk about self-love and like, what is it? And what does it feel like? And how do you get it? And then we're also going to talk about tips for self-love, like maybe top 10 tips for self-love, and how to go about the process actually stepping into that journey. And then we'll give you some great ideas to actually put them into practice every day when you wake up. And some of you have been following the posts this week in Women Wanting More. And I shared with you earlier that this whole fall season is all going to be about self-love. And so if you're wondering what it is, or you'd like to have more of it in your life, then you are in the right place. So I'd like to share a comment from Oprah because I love that woman and have followed her for a really long time. And I think she has so many golden nuggets and priceless things to share with us. And she loves bringing out the best in people. And that's my job and mission to do, not only with my coaching clients, but with everyone on the panel tonight. Like, I want to know what you're feeling. I want to know what you've experienced. I want you to just go all out and share with us. And Oprah said one time that life is a journey of learning to love yourself first. Not just learning to love yourself, but learning to love yourself first, and then extending that love to others in every encounter. And to me, that just gives me chills. It feels like such a beautiful thing. And then another one from E.E. Cummings, which I think is really cool, is that he said, it takes courage to grow up and become who you truly are. And I know each one of you well enough to know that you've chosen to grow up, and you have the boldness and the courage to love who you are, to pull back the veil and go in and do the inner work to become who you truly are. And I congratulate you for doing that, because we both know it's not a job for the faint of heart.
no, it's not.
It's not a job for the faint of heart. So, Robin, would you like to share like what your definition of self-love is?
Oh man. Sure. When you asked that question, I was like, self-love. Okay. I have a lot of examples of not self-love.
Good, and we'll talk about it. And I want to share. Yeah.
Yeah, but so comparing, I have to look at, okay, well, what am I doing now that would be an example of self-love that I didn't do in the past? So, I'll preface this by saying I think it changes with all the different seasons of your life. It's different when you're maybe a young mom and you've got children, trying to carve out that time that maybe, part of self-love is taking care of yourself. That would be one thing. So to be paying attention to what your needs are. And I think that's probably the biggest piece, is to be aware of and paying attention to your personal needs, and then making requests if necessary to be able to have those things. So something I do now, and I've been doing for, 30 years, is, personal development work. I really found that it was important for me to be introspective to learn about how to be a better person. And to be, you know, just to be a better version of myself. And that requires the hard work, you know. And so, yeah, just to start off, it's looking and being aware of what's important to you. And, you know, at my age, I'm finally doing that. It's taken a while.
Hey, sister, I got you there. I totally get it. Yeah.
Oh, man.
For that share. Thank you for that share. I'm going to come back with a follow-up on what you commented. And also, I do want to talk about what it looks like to not love yourself, too. So, Sonia, you want to go next? Like, what does
Sure.
self feel like for you?
A big part of self-love for me is setting boundaries,
Ah, yeah, okay.
being able to set boundaries. But I agree with Robin. You have to do the hard work, because before you can love yourself, you have to sort out all that stuff, you know, about, you know, all this unworthiness stuff and then these things that we carry. You know, struggling maybe with self-esteem or loving ourselves, you know, fully, means we have to, you know, inspect everything and learn to either love it and accept it, or love it and change it, you know. And so that, you know, I mean, it's you know what, you know, going within, or shadow work, whatever you want to call it, but that has to be done before you can have that level of love. This is how it had to be for me before I could have that level of love for myself, because it was easy for me to love others, and it was easy for me to put other people first, but it was because I didn't feel so great about myself, so I was a people pleaser. You know, I wanted people to like me. So I had no boundaries. People were like, oh, can you do this? Sure. Can you do that? Sure. You know, I didn't know how to say no. And so, you know, setting boundaries, saying no, when I'm tired and I can't, you know, and I don't want to, you know, not doing it, you know. So that is a big part of self-love for me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And people pleasers is like a whole nother evening, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because once a people pleaser, not always a people pleaser. You can learn how not to be and still feel total love for yourself. And that's really, I want to say that when we have that foundation, that's a rock, which is self-love, that then you are able to put yourself first and you're able to set boundaries. And so people pleasing just kind of becomes, it just goes away, you know, because it's not your priority. And it's not the way that you need to behave in order to receive love, right?
Sure.
So thank you for that share. And Tiffany, what would you like to share about what you feel self-love is for you?
Well, I love what both Robin and Sonia both said. I could comment on those for a long time and we'd have a whole night taken up.
Yeah.
But for me, self-love for me really came when I realized that I needed to be responsible for my life 100%. And so what that means is I quit blaming others for my life. Yes. And I wanted to find out why I do what I do. And when I looked inside and saw what I was doing, because there was a whole bunch in my life that wasn't working, which I was blaming other people for. And then I looked at me and I found all those pieces. And the big one was when I let go of what I thought other people should be doing.
That's tweetable.
Because what happened for me was I was so wrapped up in looking at everybody else's stuff and blaming them and what they should be doing. Like self-love, I wasn't looking at me at all. I was expecting the world to fix Tiffany when Tiffany needed to fix Tiffany. And that was real self-love for me. It was like being my own doctor, I guess, you know, like taking care of business.
I love that weigh in.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the only thing that worked for me because I tried a lot of other things.
I love it. So here's a question. Now that we've talked about self-love, and I'll just throw my 2 cents in as well, in that I feel that self-love is really about total acceptance. Total acceptance of who we are, without criticism, without judgment. And I know for women especially, that's freaking hard to do.
Yep.
With all the social media, all the magazines, everything else that came before social media, all the images about what we're supposed to look like, how our body's supposed to be, body image, that whole 9 yards. And, you know, I recently posted something that's getting a lot of traction in the Facebook, and the post was a quote from Louise Hay, something about being able to look in the mirror and say
Oh,
to
yeah.
yourself, I love you, and
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of women are sharing and being vulnerable with that, and some are saying, I can't do it. Some are saying it makes me really emotional. Some are saying I can do it sometimes, I can't do it other times. And then Michelle actually started the practice, and she shared with me that she was getting very teary-eyed and emotional. And so we are really hard on ourselves. And so when we can come to that point where we accept ourselves, all of our mistakes, everything, and we just forgive ourselves, that truly is, the beginning of the most beautiful self journey that you'll ever take. Getting there is hard because these old limiting beliefs come in, right, from the past. However, that's what I feel is really like, that's freedom, self-acceptance.
Mm.
So here's a thought based on what you expressed about what you feel self-love is, and is like, so once you experienced um, self-love, how did that impact the way that you see yourself on another level? Did it change? Did you change? Did you change the way that you see yourself?
I think that for me, life became easier and a little more simple because I wasn't so busy beating myself up or worrying about something I did in the past, because I already played those tapes and I worked on that stuff and I'm okay with it. You know, today's a new day and I'm moving forward. Can't do anything about that stuff. So, but I used to spend so much time just really, loops of fear, worry, and anxiety, because my mind was everywhere else and it wasn't in my, it's almost like I just wasn't even in my body, So part of self-love for me also was being, taking care of my spiritual hygiene.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. And so would you say that that impact of taking care of your spiritual hygiene has you see yourself differently?
Yes, because I come from compassion and love, unconditional love. And, there's only one of us, we're all individuals and we're all here to do whatever we're here to do. And it doesn't matter what we look like, if, according to what society thinks, none of that stuff matters, because in the end, when it comes down to it, all we have is ourselves.
Yeah.
That's all we can count on, And so if we can't get into that place, it's so important just to get into that place, because my quality of life has grown exponentially. Like, I look forward to life when I wake up in the morning, and it hasn't always been that way, right?
I think we can all vouch for that, right? No, just pull it
Yeah.
out, just go back to bed. Tiffany, would you share how, when you experience self-love, how that impacted the way that you see yourself on another level? Did it change the way you see yourself?
Yeah. So real quick. Shelley knows my story. This is going to be real concise, Shelley, but I went through a painful divorce, 25-year marriage, and a divorce I didn't want. And it knocked me down, self-esteem, confidence, didn't feel physically attractive, the gamut, right? Like not good enough, and all of those things that run through everybody's head from time to time. But when I went through that, when I started getting healing and I worked with my own coach, what happened was when I started to feel better and I could tell I was getting healing, I no longer looked for something outside of myself to provide the good enough, to provide the self-confidence, to provide the self-esteem. And that was the first time that I felt self-love. And again, it comes back to what I said earlier was, and Robin said it, and Sonia said it, and Shelley, I'm sure you said it, but I know they did, was I had to do the work. Like self-love did not fall out of the sky for me. It just didn't. Like, and I wanted it to really bad, and it just didn't.
Oh,
But it did.
Here you go.
Yeah, I was running out in the street begging, and it didn't happen that way. So when I experienced it, though, from the work, the day that I actually was like, whoa, I feel different, was, I think your question was, how did I see myself then? I no longer looked for external validation in men, for one, anyone, really. And I was like, you know what, I'm okay sleeping alone. I like my life. And I started to feel like I was getting to know Tiffany, but it was through caring about myself, providing that need instead of somebody else telling me I was good enough.
So are you saying that you were validating yourself, whereas before you were looking outside of yourself, but now it's like, I got this. I don't need anyone to tell me who I am or what to do.
Yeah, that was really good, Shelley. Self-validation is amazing. And I'm not talking about the kind of validation where it's like, oh yeah, I'm right, and that person still sucks, or still blaming that person. Not that kind of validation, because you can do that. That's not self-love.
Yeah.
Right.
But self-validation that I'm okay just being me.
Yeah. Amen. Total acceptance, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Robin, what about you? The impact
I agree with
in the way that you saw yourself.
I think the biggest thing for me, I spent, without, like Tiffany, without going into my whole story, but I was married. I was in a pretty abusive, verbally abusive marriage for, with someone for like 15 years. And so for me, it's been standing up for myself. And so for me, self-love, one of the pieces of self-love, and I mentioned it earlier, it's first recognizing when I should be standing up for myself at the very, the very baseline. And what I've noticed, and it's even recently, when maybe someone's treated me badly or, did something in the past, I wouldn't even have recognized it as some kind of abuse is a strong word, but I'll use it for, some kind of abuse or someone being mean or like that. So to even first step, recognize it. It's like, oh shit, they shouldn't have said that to me. Or that person shouldn't treat me that way. And then number two is then, talking to that person about it and making the request, letting them know this is not acceptable. And I'm not going to put up with you treating me that way. Those are real wins for me. That's a big piece for me of self-love.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing, all of you. That's amazing. These insights, I think women, when they view this video, are just going to feel like, me, I totally get it, and not feel so alone. Because we can do that, right? It's so easy to feel like our feelings that we're alone in our feelings and no one else is experiencing that. I remember for the longest time, I thought everyone loved themselves. I thought everyone did. I thought I was the only one that didn't love myself. It's like, what? And I love the fact that I think several, what we're talking about really is going within. When I was listening to one of my videos on my self-love course earlier today, just taking a look at what's all in there, and I found these words that were just really golden nuggets, and they are that going within is like sipping from healing waters. It's like sipping from healing waters. Like when we go in and we meet the divine, we meet the God in us, all he has to say is beautiful things, because when we can actually connect, mind, body, and spirit together and discover who we truly are, which is love, there's only amazing, wonderful things about us that God sees that we can see in ourselves, right? And so the inner critic can still live there, but you have this really powerful force within you, within each one of you and all of us within us, to truly know who we truly are. And that's a beautiful thing. And I think each one of you experienced about sipping from healing waters. Your experience, Tiffany, about not needing outside validation and finding it in here. Those are like healing waters, and Sonia's, and the boundaries, and the other things that you guys all talked about are so amazing. So let's just take for a minute, because you had mentioned earlier, I think this is really important, because to identify some of the things that we tell ourselves that are negative and not feeding into the self-love. They're not really self-love. Like, for an example, you look in the mirror and you say something negative about yourself, like, oh my gosh, I hate my hair. I know a lot of women, oh, I hate my thighs. It's just like, so there's body image stuff, but there's a lot of words out there. And if you guys wouldn't mind sharing, like, one common thing is, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of love. That makes sense, you guys?
Self-talk, that was a big one for me, because I used to beat myself up, in my head all the time, and so for me, it became, so I'm very kind, and I'm very, I'm aware when I'm interacting with others. So I try to be kind to everyone, and I enjoy being nice. It makes me feel good. It's like, it's not fake. I enjoy being nice. So I decided to turn that in on myself, and like pay attention to my thoughts. When I heard myself say something negative, I would, put it away and say something, like I would say to somebody else, something a little kinder. And so it was doing that, kind of putting the stranger within me and treat, and turning my behavior around that way. Because I was much nicer to other people than I was to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Robin's shaking her head over there. It's like, Robin, earlier you said, oh, I can tell you some ways. You want to share any of those right now real quickly?
Well, the self-talk is a big one, and what you think about, what you have put your attention on, is what you're going to get, right? So if you're always telling yourself, and I did this for years, that something is wrong with me, not just, but it's something is wrong with me. No, you don't understand. Something is really wrong with me. And that's a really hard conversation to set aside, or to overcome that conversation. But I have to say that in thinking about it, it hasn't been as present lately, because I've been, doing more work. I mean, this last year and a half has been a difficult time, and my family and I have gone through huge changes that have, there are times when it just really did take me out. It's like, have we done the right thing? What am I doing? I went from city girl to country girl, killing mice in my downstairs room and picking them up and putting them in the garbage, that's not stuff that I would have to do, and chickens and all the stuff, that you do when you live in the country. And it's just been a big change. We no longer live by ourselves. I mean, we have our own home, but my family is living on the property with us. So that's a big change, helping to raise some of my grandkids. So it's very, now is more important than ever for me to really be aware of myself and what I need, because it's real easy for me to just keep giving. There's lots of people I could give to. So I think that's forced me to be more introspective and to take that time just for me to do my quiet time, some meditation. Like I need this little bit of time. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's a tough one. It goes back to putting ourselves first, right? And we were raised to think like that's a selfish thing to do, that you're supposed to serve everyone else and do all of this for your family. And, we literally brainwashed. And so then when it comes to, just doing something for ourselves, then we go out and we feel guilty. It's like,
yeah.
so this not enough mantra, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I don't have what it takes. Oh, that, you're lucky and you're blessed, but I'm not. And then what did you say, Robin, about what was the first thing that you said? Something wrong with me. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of us grew up with thinking that, and it's still so prevalent today. It doesn't matter what decade, age you are. And the truth is, and I know we'd all vouch for it, that there's nothing wrong with any of us. There's nothing wrong with any of us. Remember I talked about that soul right in here, that spirit, that pure divine love? It's like saying there's something wrong with God. And in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with God. So if there's nothing wrong with God, God's in us, how can there be anything wrong with us?
Yep.
Comments? You guys want to talk about just a few things that, doesn't feel like self-love that maybe perhaps you did before and you weren't even aware? Like, right, we're doing these things and we're not even aware, like not setting boundaries. We're not even aware that we can set boundaries. Oh, really? We can set boundaries? Anybody want to share some things that they experienced or their behaviors that was going against self-love?
I guess I can. So I was thinking for a minute, because I've been doing this work now, not as long as Robin, my goodness, 30 years, but feels like 30 years, because I feel like I've done it under this like just fast track. But what's coming up for me is I didn't realize, so my finances were a wreck. They were a wreck in my marriage. They were a wreck after my marriage. And I didn't realize that self-love is taking care of your business, okay? So I didn't realize that I could be responsible, and this sounds silly. There might be somebody out there going, are you kidding me? But seriously, I didn't realize that self-love was actually taking care of my life as if it were my business. Okay, so that means I wasn't managing my life at all. Like I was like what do you call it? A boat being beat up by the waves, or whatever you can imagine, just being taken by the wind and dropped wherever. And then I'd pick myself up and go, well, how did that happen? And it was like, because you're not managing your life, Tiffany. And so again, it goes back to me expecting everybody else to fix my life and take care of me, I guess, when I look back on it. But so when I started this whole journey after my divorce, finances was a huge thing. And so now I'm like meticulous about my finances, whether I have $5 or $10,000, whatever my number is in the bank, I know exactly what it is. I know what's going out, when it's going out. I know everything. When I go buy a cup of coffee, as soon as I put my little debit card in the thing, I record in my phone, $4.21. It's exactly how much my coffee is every time I get it. Daisy Chain Coffee, there's a plug for them, and it's hooked to a tag that's coffee. Like, it's so organized. But self-love, like, when we start to eliminate this stuff that's causing us stress, so me not being in charge of my finances was causing me huge amounts of stress, overdrafts, like just everything. And so once I was like, hey, I think I need to take care of that, that's self-love, because guess what I eliminated? Overdrafts. I eliminated stress of overdrafts. I eliminated not knowing, I had the vague sense of, oh, I put $1,000 in the bank 2 days ago, should still be there. Although 5 bills had debited out, and then I'd go buy a shirt, and then I'd end up with an overdraft.
Yeah. What I hear you saying is what your first experience with self-love was, and that was taking responsibility. And
it was taking care of me, which meant getting rid of one of the things that was causing me the most amount of stress in my life. That's the point I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Using my finances as an example, right? It could be that you never put your clothes away. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Relate. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm in the middle of doing a master class right now, and tomorrow we're talking about doing life on our terms instead of life on life's terms. Some, like, exactly what you're saying, Tiffany, is how, you would end up somewhere and go, how'd I get here? And have honestly no clue. It's so funny. And it's bringing up memories, and it's really like, wow, I really have come far, because I was all of that and then some. I was a disaster. And it's hard to love yourself when you're a mess.
Yeah. However, let me just preface that you can still love yourself when
yes, you can. Right. Well, yeah.
Yes. No, but I'm saying, yeah. I mean, I was a mess too, and I'm realizing I didn't contribute, but I'll just mention that I didn't exercise boundaries because I didn't even know what they were or how to do it. And I also was a people pleaser, because that's how I learned that people would love me, is by doing things. And so, and I'm sure there's a lot more ways that I didn't exercise self-love. Oh, I drank a lot to be comfortable in social settings and parties. So, I was kind of abusing my body, and, the list goes on. We could all contribute and probably write a book about the ways that we treat ourselves. So just even not addressing all the parts of us that really need love. And so, speaking to the women out there that are watching this, know that one is nothing wrong with you. 2, that you deserve and are worthy of self-love. And 3, that you can start exercising that and embracing that experience in just really small, subtle ways, right? You guys, it can just be really tiny steps, but having that awareness that, like Robin was talking about, and all of us at one point or another in this conversation, is really a gift. And self-love is the longest journey and the most priceless journey you will ever walk if you decide to embark on it. So, ladies, why don't we end the session with sharing some ways that they can practice self-love, like 10 tips for self-love. So go ahead and just throw out there 2 or 3 tips maybe that you practice for yourself, so we give them something that they can apply.
Stop comparing yourself to others. And process your emotions. If you don't know how to process your emotions, get help from a friend, from a therapist, from a coach, from a healer, but do it. You deserve it.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you. Tiff?
I'm going to say question everything. And what I mean by that is I want your audience to question their thoughts. So many of us go around, like, let's use with self-love, you know, let's say I'm not good enough. Like, I want them to question that. Is that really true? And, you know, Byron Katie, I'm sure you guys have all heard of Byron Katie. That's her thing of questioning, is it true? And can you know 100%, like, if your life depended on it, that you're not good enough?
Right.
Like, the jury's going to come out and declare this or what? Like, and when you ask those questions of yourself, then you get to find out what the actual truth is, and it takes you deeper into what's really going on. And then when you know what's really going on, you can, like Sonia and I were kind of talking about, you can start to clean up a little bit, right? Pick up your, let me use clothes as a metaphor, pick up your clothes a little bit, and you can start to take care of your life so that, I don't know how you said it, Sonia, it was beautiful. You're going to do it in your master class. Live life
Create
on,
life on your terms rather than life on life's terms. Yeah.
yes, exactly that. And that all starts, I believe, with questioning your thoughts, because when we believe this stuff that's happening and just coming in, it's like we're just accepting that, and we don't have to accept just that thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's
That's
those
right.
programs that come with that, right? Those programs that just keep running, and you think that's what life is supposed to be, and you're just running on default, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
is question everything, because
I love
Shelley, you
that.
said it earlier. I think you said, with boundaries, we weren't taught, or no, being selfish, we were all taught we have to put everybody before ourselves. And that is a program, you know, it's like, oh, I got to do all this, and then there's nothing left for me. It's just what we were taught. If we were taught the opposite of, like, take care of yourself first, we wouldn't be having the Zoom tonight.
Right.
So love
Yes.
to
Yeah.
be radiant in everybody. Who would know we
Yes.
have to do this kind of work?
Yeah.
Hey, ladies, I've got to run.
Thank
So
you.
I'm gonna hop off, but it was lovely talking with you all, and
Yeah, nice to meet you.
and ciao.
Thanks so
Okay.
much. So I'll talk to you later. Bye. Robin, you want to share a few tips for self-love before we go?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different things. I mean, number one, you've got to take time for yourself.
Yeah.
And, you know, like you said, we do have to be first. That's why, you know, in the airplane, they talk about putting on your oxygen mask first before you put it on before you help your kid. That's easier said than done. Believe me,
Yeah.
I understand that. But just being aware, that's a big step. I know it's been a big step for me, is just paying attention to the thoughts that we have. You know, if they're a negative thought, like, what's wrong with you, you're not good enough, you don't deserve that, that's like, you know, you've got to start just saying thank you for sharing, and, you know, there's no truth to that one. All that is a track that got laid in my brain when I was 5 years old. And I'm not 5 years old anymore, but I'm living my life out of that track that's still running in my brain.
Yeah.
It's insanity, right?
I know.
Man.
Oh, that's
So we got to make new tracks. You've got to dismiss those thoughts. They're going to keep coming up. Unfortunately, they might get quieter, but you've got to make new tracks. And that's the important piece, right? And I think another little piece is create a beautiful space for yourself. I'm all about beauty. Even though if you look around at my house now, it's not beautiful yet, but it will be, because we're still in transition. But to have a beautiful space, even if it's a little corner in your home that is pristine, that is beautiful, where you can go and just really soak in, you know, meditate, get into nature, you know, get outside, and enjoy what we've been given on this planet, which is pretty extraordinary. So yeah, a couple little things.
I love those. I love those. And just so you guys know, I've made a lot of notes in the comments. So if you want to share this video or tag people in it, you know, they'll be able to see the comments and get the tips, as well as rewatch it as well. I'll throw a couple in there. Journaling is one of my favorite ways to honor my thoughts and my feelings and actually kind of dump them, right? And it's also a great way to track your growth and give yourself kudos and attention for how far you've come, because I can pick a journal up off the shelf from 3 years ago and read it and go, wow. Because a lot of times, especially if you're blue in the color code, it's like we can't do enough. We're never 100%. And it's like we're always looking to do more, that perfectionism thing, and we don't give ourselves credit. And I know there's a lot of blues out there just like me. And it's like it's so important to acknowledge not only where you've come from, but where you are now and what you're doing to get yourself in the future of the life that you want to create and live. And then believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Just start believing in yourself. And when you look in the mirror, you go, I believe in you, Robin. So maybe start with that instead of I love me, because maybe that's how it's like, I believe in you. And if you guys haven't seen that video, I posted it in the Facebook of that little girl that hops up on the bathroom counter and she gets up in the morning and she starts doing her self-love affirmations. It kind of went viral about a year ago, but I posted it again on the Facebook. She gets up, she's 3 years old. You guys can both relate. It's this little kid. I love you. You're amazing. I love my family. It's just hilarious. So if you need to know how to love yourself, watch the video, play it when you're in the bathroom in the morning, do exactly what she's doing. You don't even have to think about it. And then, of course, there's meditation. I love Tiffany's golden nugget of responsibility. Robin's about putting yourself first. And then my favorite is going within. Going within to find your true self, to get connected with the divine. And it's the most beautiful experience. And then, I found this. I took this out. Is this opposite, you guys?
No. Ask for what you need.
Yeah. Ask for what you need. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Go out and get it. And so one more quote, and then I'm going to let you two introduce yourself and let people know where they could find you if they want to talk to you further, if that's okay. And if you don't want to do that, it's okay. But since you brought up Byron Katie, I had one of her quotes here, Tiffany, and it says, I stopped waiting for the world to give me what I want, and I started giving it to myself.
Oh, yeah. I love that one. I love that. That is amazing. I wanted to add something really quick about what you were saying about the little girl in the mirror. Please. I remember when I did this, when I was first going through my divorce, and this mirror thing came up, like, look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you love yourself. And for some of your viewers that you said got a little teary-eyed or really having a challenge with it, yeah. I would suggest or encourage them to play with it. So what I did was I would like peek in there at the mirror and I'd be like, hey. And then I'd just bust out laughing because
I like that.
It was like, I couldn't do the full on like emotional breakdown. I love you. I couldn't do that out of the gate. You know what I mean? So I had to have some fun. And then I would start laughing. And when laughter bubbles up, you've won right there because you've just kicked a whole bunch of stress hormones to the curb.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. And one thing on that note I'll share is that one of my early coaches early on gave me this exercise because he knew me well enough to know I really needed some self-love. And he found a song for me, and I can't remember which one it was, but it was very popular, and so he goes, I want you to sing that song to yourself in the mirror. Sing the song. You guys, the first time I tried, I got through like 15, 20 seconds, and I just started bawling because the words were so powerful and they were so true for me, but I hadn't embraced the truth of who I was. And so I did that exercise, and I'm just going to say like 30 days later, it might have happened earlier than that, but 30 days later, I was turning the song on, dancing, feeling it, embracing it, and I wasn't so emotional or wounded because I had given myself that gift, right? Mm-hmm. So it just takes time. And I love your idea, Tiffany. It's like, hey,
yeah.
Who is that?
Yeah.
Robin, what about you? Anything you want to add?
Laugh, and that's the goal really about this whole thing we call life. we got to laugh. And sometimes it's hard to find the laughter.
Yeah, we take ourselves too seriously, right?
Yeah.
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 Tiffany, how can people find you? Talk to you more.
So a couple ways. If you just want to get to know me on my personal page, it's Tiffany Elizabeth Reniker. You can find me there. If you want to dive into my group that I work with women who've gone through divorce or going through divorce, that's Freedom, Happiness, and Power. And you'll see my face when you type that in there.
Thank you. Thank you. And Robin?
Yeah. So I'm in the health world and have been for, I don't know how many years, well over 30 years. I sell nutritional products, and I'm just all about people being healthy and living, being as healthy as they can be for as long as they can be. So the easiest way to connect is probably on Facebook, which is Robin Reeves May, Reves, Reeves May. And then I do have a website, lifeonholiday.com. Lifeonholiday.com. But other than that, I'd love to just connect and see what everybody's up to. And then the last thing I wanted to say is, our purpose on earth, I feel, is to love our brothers and sisters. That's everybody. And that starts with loving us. So, we can't pass it on unless it starts here. So that's my parting words.
Yes, amen. And thank you. Thank you both for that. And for those of you who want to reach out to me, you can find me right here in Women Wanting More. You can find me on my website at smarenka.com. And I hope you join us for another Wednesday Night Live. Not only the people who are watching, but you guys, I'll have you come back on. We'll have different topics. It was so wonderful to just engage, just have these authentic conversations about real life. So I love you both. Thank you so much. And I hope you guys have a great evening. I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Robin.
Nice